Raptor 101 here. Today I'm going to be doing reviewing the fight in Godzilla vs. Kong, Hong Kong Battle Round 2 review. So let's get into this battle. So the fight starts out with Godzilla, Kong staring each other down, Kong just climbing up from the hollow earth, and the two titans face each other down. Godzilla slams his tail and roars as Kong slams his fists against the ground. The two roar at each other. Kong grabs his axe as he charges towards Godzilla. And Godzilla immediately, if you look, Godzilla spreads out his feet in preparation for Kong's impact. He was ready for Kong to, charge right into him. But then when he sees Kong leap into the air, you can see immediately when he sees this, he slowly steps out of the way, so Kong's axe ends up slamming into a building. And now, with Kong focused on now trying to get his axe out of the building, Godzilla is able to bite Kong on his shoulder, and Godzilla then swings Kong into a building, grabbing him and throws him into a building, then reaches over and grabs Kong by his throat. And Kong is, Kong uses his hand to get Godzilla's jaws off of his neck, and Godzilla charges up a breath of the atomic ray. When Kong, seeing this, raises up his elbow and slams down on the back of Godzilla's neck, pushing Godzilla's head to the ground. And now he tries to pry open Godzilla's jaws, but Godzilla fires his breath again. After this, Kong then, failing to pry open Godzilla's jaws, now closes Godzilla's mouth so Godzilla can't shoot his atomic breath at him. Kong, grabs Godzilla and, swings him around. The momentum kind of sends them both flying back a little bit of distance. And Godzilla knows that since they're a little bit of distance apart, he uses his atomic breath again, shooting it, trying to charge it up and shoot it at Kong. Kong runs in, jumps up, kicks himself off a building, and slams his fist against Godzilla's head. Now, before Godzilla can even recover, Kong grabs Godzilla by his head, holding his head still, and Godzilla, just as Kong kicks him, uses his knee, slams Godzilla's jaw against his knee. Godzilla spews off a breath of atomic ray really quickly, before Kong then slams his fist down against Godzilla's head. And in this moment, you can even see that there's a little bit of blood showing from Godzilla. If it was from Godzilla's mouth or his gills or from whatever, you do see that he still bleeds, even though it's still a little bit, but still he does bleed here. So after this, Godzilla kind of steps back. He raises up a little bit, and Kong, seeing this, sees an opportunity and grabs onto the buildings beside him and lifts his legs up and kicks Godzilla. Godzilla falls into a building, and him and the building both fall onto the ground. Kong gets up, pretty proud of himself, and beats his chest, grabs his axe, and the next thing Kong knows, Godzilla's already up, and Godzilla lunges in for Kong, claws ready to slash. Kong is able to grab Godzilla by his shoulder and neck area. And Godzilla, so that way, Godzilla raises up, so that way Kong can't hit him, and moves into a position where now, raising up at his full height, he towers over Kong. He charges up his atomic ray, and just when it seems like Kong could, is about to get an atomic breath right to his face, you can even see the shock on Kong's face. When he realizes what's about to happen, he immediately just reacts and shoves the axe into the end of the axe handle into Godzilla's mouth. Godzilla starts to back up, trying to get some distance from Kong again, but this time he shoves into Kong as soon as he can get the axe handle out of his mouth. He, uses his weight, because remember, Godzilla's a lot heavier than Kong, or at least a good bit heavier, so he uses that extra weight and shoves into Kong, pushing Kong back. And then, now getting some good distance, he's finally able to unleash his atomic breath on Kong. Kong just reacts as quick as he can and manages to lift up his axe to block the atomic ray. This pushes Kong back a good 100, 200 feet, and you can see after this, Kong really struggles. And after this, he's struggling to hold his arms up. And then he starts to look at the axe and distracted for a moment. That's all Godzilla needs to already, run towards Kong. He grabs Kong by his body and shoves him back. Kong almost, crushes a Ferris wheel as Kong immediately retaliates by, slamming his axe into Godzilla's thigh. Godzilla just, quickly uses that, just shoves Kong back into the water, grabs and rips the axe out of his leg. And I'm surprised we didn't see too much blood from it, which kind of showed how thick Godzilla's skin is and how good his pain tolerance is. He easily just rips this thing out of his leg. It doesn't seem to really affect him much at all. And, after he rips this out of his leg, Godzilla now realizes that without the axe, Kong is pretty much relatively defenseless when it comes down to blocking his atomic ray. So now, Godzilla starts to spew his atomic breath, and Kong is just running for his life. Now, if you remember, Adam Wingard said that Godzilla was toying with Kong, and I think this is where this comes into play here, because Kong's running around, Godzilla's just really toying with him, and he keeps the atomic breath right on Kong's tail, because Kong can't really do anything against it. And, Kong's leaping around, Kong's trying to dodge it. Godzilla stops. We see a close-up scene of Godzilla moving his head, eyes glowing. He's just spewing his atomic breath everywhere. And then finally, as Kong leaps into the air, he manages to land a good hit on Kong. Even though the hit only hits him for a second, it manages to cause extreme pain to Kong. Definitely something that Kong now realizes that this atomic breath is something that he cannot, withstand for too long. He's probably already seen the devastating power of it. Look at how it destroyed a whole battleship. So he already knows how powerful this weapon is. And plus, in Kingdom Kong, I believe we saw Kong actually see an ancient cave painting of one of his ancestors getting killed by the atomic breath. Or at least getting hit by it. So he knows this is one deadly weapon. So he already knows it can kill. So as he's running away from this, all of a sudden, after getting hit, Kong goes rolling, he spins through the air, and he hits the ground and rolls, and we see Godzilla laughing. This is the first time we really see Godzilla do something like this. In 2014, we kind of see him in pain after the building kind of collapses on him. He's tired. He's in pain. But this is the first time we've really seen necessarily happiness on his face. But it goes into how smart Godzilla really is. He isn't a dumb animal. He's really smart. Almost as smart as Kong. Even though he might not be able to craft tools, he still knows how they work. And this will go into play a little later on in the movie, but back to the fight at hand. So after this, you can see part of Kong's back is a little bit on fire, so Kong has to kind of reach his hand back there, kind of pats it out. It doesn't seem like he's too hurt by this. It does seem like it did probably singe off a few of his furs, probably burnt his skin a little bit, but nothing too severe. And Kong just goes back to running, and the atomic breath is trailing behind Kong. As Kong is just running, he's jumping, swinging from building to building. One scene, Kong leaps onto a building, and as he's trying to, got atomic breath, it's going right towards him. And Kong is able to kind of, climb up just a little bit more as the atomic breath goes right below him. And it slices the building in half, and the building starts to collapse as Kong is still holding on to it. Next, we see Kong, on top of another building, pulling off what seems to be like a helipad on top of a building. And this scene, Kong probably knows that now he's not just trying to survive, now he's trying to attack Godzilla, trying to get up close and personal with Godzilla once again. Kong pulls his axe I mean, not his axe, I'm sorry. Pulls the helipad off of the building and now leaps around. He ducks down under Godzilla's atomic breath, which almost hits him, by the way. And then he, climbs up again. He leaps up. He uses this helipad to block the atomic breath for a second. Kong probably grabbed this just in case, which it definitely did come in handy, as Godzilla's atomic breath would have probably severely hurt Kong here. And this second kind of saves Kong here, as Kong immediately ducks. He lands behind a building, and he throws the helipad up into the air. Godzilla seemingly fires his breath at it, probably just seeing movement. He probably just fires at it, probably blowing it into pieces. As then Kong leaps up in a nick of time, because you could see Godzilla's atomic breath fire right through the building where he was hiding, and now Kong's leaping back and forth as the atomic breath is right behind him. Eventually, Kong is able to climb up to his axe once again, and now leaps into the air. Godzilla fires his breath. Kong uses his axe to block the attack, and now slowly kind of comes down, and the axe slams into Godzilla's head. Godzilla and Kong are both sent flying in opposite directions. Now, it does seem like the axe did hit Godzilla, because of some little shots, right? You can kind of see what's happening, and you can see Godzilla's head is down at his chest. His hands are up, showing the force of the blast. Most likely, definitely Godzilla is struggling. Kind of probably hit him and probably dazed him and knocked him out. This is because you have to remember, the axe was first charged up in the Hollow Earth, right? Then charged up by Godzilla again. Charged up by Godzilla once again for even longer. So this is Hollow Earth energy. Hollow Earth energy and 2 full blasts for Godzilla's atomic breath. All that energy focused up, and it hits Godzilla, knocking him out. And it does send Kong flying back, probably even further, because he was in the air. So, you can see it sends him flying back, and the axe goes somewhere to some building, or it lands on the ground. And as Kong hits the ground, and he kind of hits his shoulder, side of his body, hits the building, and he slides along the ground. Then we see Godzilla kind of fall back into a building, and then the building kind of collapses around him. And what's weird in that scene is that Godzilla kind of just disappears, his body just disappears in the rubble. And we just see, we kind of just see the building just crumble around, and we see his body almost fully disappear. And then after, you just hear a loud thud, and the camera kind of shakes. And then that's pretty much it. And that's pretty much it for round 2, as Kong gets back up off the ground as well. So this is pretty much it for round 2. Kong somewhat wins this round, as Godzilla's temporarily knocked out. Not dead, knocked out. So this is it for round 2. Now, I'll probably release another video of round 3. And I might release Mechagodzilla's fight as well, with Mechagodzilla, and probably one of the aircraft ship battles. So see you guys next time, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye. Subscribe.